Welcome back to my channel. Today I want to share with you the new lessons that are in the Colorful Apple Book Club for the month of November. And I've really been trying to incorporate kind of the seasons as well as the holidays into the lessons that I'm creating. Not all of them are going to pertain to the month or the season, but I've been trying to make an effort so that way you have some fun ones to choose from for again, for the holiday or the season. So for November, we have a turkey for Thanksgiving. In November, sweep, and I'm going to go into each one of these individually too. Pumpkin jack and fry bread. I feel like pumpkin jack could also work for October, so you can hold on to it for next year too if you want. But those are the 5 books. We have one for each subject: reading, writing, science, social studies, and SEL. So let's dive into each one. Let's start with reading. So I can't believe I haven't read this book before, but it was such a fun one, and again, perfect for Thanksgiving. It's called A Turkey for Thanksgiving by Eve Bunting, and I thought it would be perfect for making predictions. So in this story, Mr. Moose and Mrs. Moose are hosting Thanksgiving, and Mrs. Moose is saying, I really wish we had a turkey for Thanksgiving. We've never had one. Everybody else has one. So your students are probably going to predict that they want to eat a turkey for Thanksgiving. So Mr. Moose goes out and they meet all of his animal friends, and they all go looking for the turkey. And Turkey's running away because he also thinks he's going to be eaten. And then at the end, there's a surprise that they actually want to have the turkey as a guest. So students will go through, they'll make predictions as you read. I have all of the stopping points on sticky notes for you. I also have them on a full sheet so that you can just do it that way if that's easier for you. And at the end, they will, first of all, they'll be surprised that the turkey is a guest and not something to be eaten. And they will decide if their prediction was right or wrong. And so they can fill out the sheet, making predictions before, during, and after. What do you think is going to happen in the story? What do you think is going to happen next? Was your prediction correct? You can also use this sheet, text clues, my prediction, and what actually happened. And students can fill that out before, during, and after as well. And then you can use the anchor charts. This one's just about making predictions in general. This one is an example of you can do together like an interactive anchor chart. You can have students, as you discuss the predictions before, during, and after, and put on sticky notes what their predictions are. I put examples on here for you. And then they'll make their own little turkey, which I think he's just so cute. And on each feather, you can do before, during, and after. You can do multiple predictions on here, and you just do one on each feather and then glue the feather onto the back of the turkey. And that's a fun little November activity to take home. And then there's also some task cards to go along with them. This isn't specific to the book. They're just more about making predictions in general. So that is A Turkey for Thanksgiving, making predictions for reading. The next book that I have is In November by Cynthia Ryland. This is a beautiful picture book and perfect for talking about figurative language with your students. So in this book, students will be talking about figurative language, specifically personification. There's a little bit of similes, but I would say the focus is really on personification. And again, there's stopping points that I've created on sticky notes, so you know exactly when to point that out to your students. You also have the talking points page. And then the lesson plan kind of gives an overview, and you can create your own anchor chart with your students, what the author said, what we think she means. So for example, one of the lines is spreading their arms like dancers. And she's talking about the trees, and we think she means stretching their branches. You can either create this ahead of time, or you can create it, make it interactive with your students, and you can put what the author said and then what they think that the author means. And then it kind of goes into that in the worksheet as well. It gives the lines from the book and what we think the author is trying to tell us, what the figurative language is. And then because there are so many leaves, it's about fall and November. There is a kind of a leaf book. Used a little brad to connect it. And I put some of the lines from the book, and on the back, students can write what the author means. There are also some blank ones where students can create their own personification and write what it is on the front and what it means on the back. And then they kind of connect it to make this almost like booklet that they can flip through. So that is In November by Cynthia Rylant, perfect for talking about figurative language and incorporating that into our writing. The next book I have is also one that I never read before, but it was a pretty awesome book, perfect for the fall. Like I said, this one can be used in October or November. This one is called Pumpkin Jack, and it's great for talking about the pumpkin life cycle or just life cycles in general. This is the anchor chart that comes along with it. But Pumpkin Jack kind of takes it through a young boy. It's after Halloween and his jack-o'-lantern starts to decay and he's a little sad. But then he notices throughout the year, he plants the seeds and then the seeds begin to sprout. They turn into a plant, then they blossom and become both a green and then finally a ripe orange pumpkin, and he understands how that cycle goes through every year. So that's kind of neat to teach your students, especially in the season of fall. And it goes through each of the discussion points, talks about one of the different stages of the life cycle. Again, it's on the talking points page and in your lesson. And then students will fill out their own pumpkin life cycle and they can use the word box to help them. They'll write underneath each one which stage it is. And then for their craftivity, something similar, they will create this pumpkin, again, attach it with a brad, and it's a spinner, and it'll go through all of the different stages. There are 3 different options. So you can have, so for example, this one has the word and it has an image. You can also use the one that has just the words or just the image, and you can have your students fill in the rest of it. They can kind of explain what it looks like. They can write what that stage is. If they use this one, they can draw what the stage looks like. And then to follow up with that, there are task cards, and it talks about students will be identifying the different stages. Name this phase of the pumpkin life cycle, and it gives an image, and students need to name that. That can be done in groups. They can be done individually. There is a response page where they can write down their answers for the task cards. So that is Pumpkin Jack, which is written by Will Hubble. This next book is a favorite of mine. It came out a few years ago and probably one that you are very familiar with. This one is Fry Bread, which is a Native American family story written by Kevin Noble Millard. And it goes through what fry bread is and why it's important to this Native American family. There's beautiful descriptions, but I thought this would be a perfect book for social studies and talking about food in cultures and why food is important to specific cultures. And you can start a class discussion about that. And it goes through the book. It describes what fry bread looks like, what it sounds like, how it brings families together, and how they celebrate with it. So again, you can jumpstart that conversation with your students. What is an important food that they like to eat with their family or their friends on certain holidays or at certain times of the year? And really start a conversation about culture, what culture is and the different pieces of culture. Today in this book, we're talking specifically about food. And it comes again with the lesson plan and the talking points if you don't want to print them out on the Post-it notes. Students will reflect on what fry bread is. What does it sound like? What does it taste like? What does it mean? They talk about time and color in the book and what all of those individual things mean. And then as a fun activity, students can create, to kind of go along with this activity sheet, this plate that kind of flips, and they can fill in with words or pictures the color of fry bread, the flavor, what it sounds like, and then they can create kind of this almost flip plate. And then delving more into using food and culture, there's task cards. If you could create a special food, what would it be? Who would you want to share a special meal with? Again, these can be done in small groups, even as a whole class if you wanted to, or students can answer individually on a recording sheet as well. So fry bread, perfect for talking about food and culture, especially in the month of November in social studies. And then the last book that we have is perfect for social emotional learning. Sorry if my voice comes and goes. I'm reaching for all of the different materials. This one is Sweep by Louise Grieg. And this is perfect for talking about understanding feelings and how sometimes we can get swept up in those feelings. In the story, a young boy is having a bad day and it just keeps getting worse and worse and worse, like a pile of leaves that's taking over his world. And he can't see the beauty around him. He can't see the balloons in the sky or the kites in the air because he's so swept up in this pile of leaves, this troubling thing that has happened to him. And it's not specific in why he's in a bad mood, but it just talks about how a bad mood can escalate. And it kind of takes this idea and makes it concrete for students to understand that we can get swept up in those feelings and how we can make better, you can have a discussion about how you can make better choices when you are experiencing those strong emotions. And speaking of emotions, different ways we show emotions, negative ways and positive ways, and really focus with students on those positive ways and why those are better for them and for their world around them than the negative ways that kind of in the book, he has this negative way of dealing with it, but there are more positive ways that he could deal with it. And delving more into those feelings and emotions. I feel happy when students can write or draw a picture. I feel sad, I feel excited, I feel mad. So things that make them feel those different feelings. You could take it a step further and talk about how they express those feelings and in positive ways or negative ways. And then in the book, like I mentioned before, the young boy doesn't notice the happy things around him, like the balloons. And so as an activity, students can either make a bunch of balloons and you can add ribbon to the bottom, or you could do just one balloon and students can write or draw things that make them happy on the balloon to really focus on those positive emotions and not even so much positive emotions, but positive ways of dealing with those emotions. And then the task cards, again, go into those feelings. What makes you feel happy? What do you do to feel better when you are sad? So how to deal with those emotions that can tend to be overwhelming. So those are all of the new resources that are in the Colorful Apple Book Club this month. When you join, you will not only get access to all of these books, all of these lessons, but I think we have almost 200 lessons in the book club now that you will have access to that full library when you do join. And you'll be joining hundreds of teachers who are in there with us. And what I love about it is that you have this whole library, and when you need something specific, you just go to the library and download it. You don't have to search through Pinterest or Teachers Pay Teachers to find the exact thing. Just go in, look for, maybe you need a lesson on predictions. You can go in, search for predictions, and we have more than one lesson to go along with that skill or strategy that you need. And another thing that I like is, and you probably noticed in this video, that all of the lessons follow the same pattern. You have the discussion questions, you have the anchor chart, you have the activity sheet, you have the craft, sometimes there's a game, and you have the task cards, which makes it so much easier for you to teach the lesson. You don't have to think so much about it. It's done for you. Your students know the routine. They know what's going on, what to expect. So that makes it so much easier. So definitely come join us in the Colorful Apple Book Club. I will leave a link in the description box down below to join us today. I hope that you have a wonderful end of October. It is almost Halloween, so happy Halloween. Hope your class isn't too crazy. And get ready for November with me. I will join you next Monday. We'll have a new video coming out on YouTube, so give it a check out. If this video is helpful for you, give it a thumbs up, hit that red subscribe button, and don't forget to hit the notification bell. And I hope you have a great week.